Welcome back. Estimates for the BP oil spill disaster have gone from $1 billion to over $3 billion. The Oil Pollution Act, a 1990 law enacted in response to the Exxon Valdez spill, caps a company's liability at $75 million. Now, Congress is considering raising the cap or removing a cap altogether. Leading the charge on the House side to make this change in legislation is Congressman James Oberstar. He's chairman of the House Transportation Committee. He held a hearing yesterday in Washington on the matter, and he joins me right now from Capitol Hill. Congressman, good to have you on the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Just want to point out that today the Attorney General of Florida is out saying that he would like BP to pay $2.5 billion in escrow for the state, that he's expecting the state to see losses, or it may see losses of as much as $2.2 billion. So the piling on in terms of money that is wanted from BP as a result of this terrible, terrible disaster obviously continues. What came out of yesterday's hearing? What do you say to critics that the proposal that you are making that it would actually shut smaller companies out of exploration?
I was involved in the OPA 90 legislation and in its predecessor legislation going back to the Torrey Canyon in 1976, my first term in Congress. We established the Oil Spill Trust Fund to give the federal government agencies, principally the Coast Guard Authority, to act promptly and to draw on this fund and then to build the responsible party. BP has already paid, independently of the fund, $1 billion for cleanup costs. The Coast Guard this week billed BP $69 million, which payment will go into the Oil Spill Liability Trust Fund. The purpose of our hearing was to determine what should be the upper limit of liability, or should there be one at all. I asked the American Petroleum Institute and other witnesses, if it's not $75 million and if it's not $10 billion, as some have suggested, or no limit, what is your number? They didn't have one. I said, you've got 3 days to come back to us with a number, because we're going to fashion a bill in the next 10 days and bring that and a comprehensive piece of legislation to the House floor along with other committees in the House. So it's up to them to come to us to give us a number, and then we'll see where we go from there. But I don't want to see the American public have to pay a dime, not a penny, for this spill. The industry has said 170,000 oil drilling jobs are at stake, but 300,000 jobs are at risk now in tourism and fisheries and restaurants. And while the Gulf provides 30% of the nation's oil, it provides 50% of our fish and shellfish resources for the nation. That's at risk, and maybe permanently at risk.
So how enforceable are the things that you're saying, I wonder? Because we're talking about a British company operating in the U.S. waters. So, I mean, you know, we have the president asking the company to pay the salaries of the idle workers, suggesting that the dividend should be cut. Now we've got this idea that there should be no cap on liability. My question is, really, is this enforceable, given that this is a foreigner?
It certainly is enforceable, because there are foreign flag vessel operating in U.S. waters. The drilling operation is a Swiss flag company, Transocean, but they're subject to U.S. laws. They're operating in our exclusive economic zone. We have the right to impose obligations upon these companies and the authority to collect from them for costs incurred by not only the federal government, but state and local governments and private entities and anyone who's at risk and has had a loss because of their spill. And the question is, should there be a limit of liability? In 1990, we determined that that would be $75 million, but that legislation dealt with vessels where there is a known quantity of oil. However many tons or millions of gallons or hundreds of thousands of barrels, we know what's in that tanker. This is an unknowable amount at 18,000 feet below the mud floor of the ocean. We don't know how much oil is in that reservoir. The estimates range from 100 million to a billion barrels. Right. And it's escaping at an unmanageable, unquantifiable amount. And so we have to hold this company liable for their failure.
Yeah, well, what kind of restrictions were in place beforehand? How come there wasn't a backup plan in place based on the people overseeing these companies coming into our waters and operating? I mean, you know, who allowed the permit, and how come there wasn't a backup plan, and where were the overseers?
The answer to your question is that in May of 2008, the Bush administration's Minerals Management Service issued an exemption to BP from the requirement to file a plan for failure at the wellhead, a spill prevention plan. Gave them an exemption. They never did file such a plan.
And was this just missed over the last year, or? We knew that they were exempted? I mean,
no one had examined that lease. No one had given it further thought because there was no skill, no expertise in the Minerals Management Service under the Bush administration, nor does the Coast Guard have expertise at 5,000 feet below ocean surface to deal with the failure of a wellhead. We need to develop that. We're going to have legislation from my committee to 2008, the Bush administration's Minerals Management Service issued an exemption to BP from the requirement to file a plan for failure at the wellhead, a spill prevention plan. Gave them an exemption. They never did file such a plan.
And was this just missed over the last year, or? We knew that they were exempted? I mean,
no one had examined that lease. No one had given it further thought because there was no skill, no expertise in the Minerals Management Service under the Bush administration, nor does the Coast Guard have expertise at 5,000 feet below ocean surface to deal with the failure of a wellhead. We need to develop that. We're going to have legislation from my committee to establish standards for the drill master so that this person will be certified by a federal government agency to qualify to operate this equipment, the Coast Guard to operate and inspect that equipment. And we're going to move that legislation. We're going to bring them up to the standards that we have for safety in aviation.
Mr. Chairman, good to have you on the program. We hope you'll come back and update us on those caps in terms of liabilities. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.